We are back at Small Biz on Business Monday. I'm Josh Fenton. This is Dan Keating. He runs Newport Polo, one of the founders of it. Probably one of the coolest things going on in Rhode Island every summer. Another big summer season.
Yeah, it was a great season. We had teams from another 8 countries. Poland made its debut this year, and we had India back, so we kind of covered 5 continents for us, and we're pretty happy about that.
And these folks from Poland can't be too disappointed coming into Aquidneck Island and spending the week in Newport.
No. Even if the teams lose, they have a great time, and it's a great spot to come and visit.
How many people do you attract on an average match on a Saturday afternoon?
Well, it can be. The exact number is hard to calibrate because we don't charge children. So and children do make out. There's a lot of families that come and everything like that. But we kind of have an estimate, and that is somewhere between 2,000 and 4,000 people.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great experience, and I think if you haven't been, it would be shocking if you haven't. It's really one of those fun things to do on a summer weekend. Let's talk about the rest of the season. You've got 2 more weeks to go. 2
more matches. Yeah, we've got we've got a Pro-Am this week coming up, and then the finals, which is the season-long finals of 2 Newport teams. So.
Great. And it's real polo. I mean, this is a competitive game. Competitive athletes, folks coming in from around the world. Ponies are highly trained. They get damaged sometimes. I mean,
we get damaged. They get damaged. I had a vet trip immediately after last game. We raced some ponies off to the veterinarian, and we found out that they were in good shape, and they'll have a couple of weeks off just to make sure that they're all healed up. And we also had one player go down, one of the Indian guys go down and couldn't continue. So we have our bumps and bruises.
And when they fly in from India, you provide them the ponies. They're not flying in
We do. That's
ponies.
the big challenge for them and us as hosts.
Yeah.
We've got to give them a fair shot at competing. So we give them appropriate horses.
You don't give them old nags or anything like that. You don't give them the oldest, slowest ponies.
Here's the thing:
do they all have nicknames like Granny and?
We have a few like Diabla, Arnold, the Terminator. It's really important that if someone's coming from the other side of the world, they could just as easily stay home and compete in something locally there.
Right.
And the trust is that they'll be mounted appropriately.
Right.
And we want to make sure that they're safely mounted, number one, and number 2, competitive, and that we have a fair match. And that's why one of the things that I think is, from the point of view of the competitors, is a successful part of Newport Polo, is that they do have a chance to win, and they do get some decent horses. Within the club itself, we do a Thursday night game where we diffuse the whole USA versus, say, India, and break the visiting team up and put each of them on a team with 3 Americans.
Oh, nice.
So they get to kind of we get to kind of understand what kind of horses they like, and they'll ride some of the horses they'll be playing on Saturday, and it helps us match them up.
That's great. When did it start? What's the genesis of it?
1992. Well, really, it started in 1875. Newport hosted the very first polo match in the United States, and 10 years later, in 1886, the founder of polo in the United States, James Gordon Bennett, invited a team from England to play, and that was the first international game.
How'd we do?
We lost. The English invented this thing called a backhand. Totally kind of confused the Americans. They didn't have a way. But in the next couple of runs at it, the Americans actually dominated for a good part of the time. And that was called the Westchester Cup. And it was significant because it predated the resurrection of the Olympics. So it was kind of really interesting. Countries weren't playing against each other in sports then.
And then when did you start? When did Newport Polo as we know it today, when did it start?
1992 was our first season.
And was it at the Glen Farm?
We started it there.
Great. And when did it explode? When did it go from sleepy and little into
It-
2, 3, 4,000 people.
It's been a 27-year-old overnight success. So, we've grown between 8 and 15% a year over the last 27 years. And really,
That's
we
great.
started out with the very first game with 100 people.
Yeah.
We thought, not what we wanted, but we'll do better next week. Next week was 60. So
Right,
it's
those
compounded.
Those growth curves of success
That's-
are kind of
yeah,
go like this.
yeah, it's
we know
not
here
exactly.
at GoLocal. Talk about, you had a big exciting addition, which is a Jumbotron. We were just talking about it. We were all lamenting. We all want our own Jumbotron. Talk about adding the Jumbotron and kind of transforming it to sleepy little farm in Portsmouth to the big time.
Sure. Well, it's pretty cool. It's a gigantic TV or computer screen
Yeah.
that everybody can participate with. And the idea was we wanted to, we look at polo and say, like, what are the challenges of understanding and digesting it from the product point of view? How
Yeah.
do people consume it? And what would they like, what do they want more of, and what are they interested in? One of the things that people wanted to know about was the horses.
Yeah.
So this allows us, in the Kentucky Derby, we hear all the stories about the horses leading up to the Derby, and it's really kind of fascinating. People get behind that. But in polo, the commentator, when they're talking about it, they're kind of calling out the names of the players. And because there's horse switches and all kinds of things like that, a horse doesn't play the whole game. The horse kind of gets left behind a little bit just because it's complicated for the commentator to incorporate all the names of the horses. But now what we can do is we can post the info about the horse and some of their histories and some of their achievements.
That's great.
Right on the Jumbotron, people can kind of get an idea of what's going on out there with the horses. And the other thing is to learn the rules and get explanation of what's going on. Because most of us, myself included, didn't grow up with polo as a sport. So we're trying to digest it, understand it, and the Jumbotron helps us kind of get there.
And you guys worked with Commerce. They helped spark a little of the funding.
Absolutely.
To be able to,
So when you come up with it, when you're a seasonal business, totally dependent upon good weather, and banks look at you and say, "Oh, I don't know," And the Commerce Department, part of the state of Rhode Island, put together has a loan fund that you can apply for, and we applied for it, and that was coupled with we had a sponsor. Gallo Thomas Insurance, who was really great. They came on board. Once they came on board, I was kind of like, ooh, this was an idea, and now I have to do it. So Commerce Corp ended up helping us go through the loan process. It took a little longer than a regular bank loan. They like to have a little bit more documentation. But, we did apply for a bank loan, and you have to be rejected from a bank first in order to qualify. But you also have to, be able to show the wherewithal to pay it back. So we felt we kind of slipped right in between those two spots. So I think it was a good fit for Commerce Corp. And they were really, really helpful, guided us all the way through. And in the end, the money came through, and we were able to set that thing up.
That's great. We're all jealous up here. This is great. It is one of those. It's probably one of those 10 things you've got to do in the summer in Rhode Island, it's right there with Jazz and Folk and Tennis Hall of Fame and Volvo races every 3 years and all those other great experiences you can have in Rhode Island. And what I'm always amazed at is how far away people come. I mean, just coming down for Newport Polo, there's folks from Boston and Hartford drive all the way in because there's kind of nothing else like it.
Right, we do get a lot of that. They'll come from New Hampshire and obviously Connecticut and Massachusetts, all over Rhode Island. But the Indian team was telling me yesterday when they were leaving. They said that people from New Jersey found out about it and came up for the weekend all the way from New Jersey, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool.
You're packing them in. Now, if we can just add it to be a winter sport, but you do a winter gig, don't you?
What we do is in February, Newport has the Winter Festival. And basically, it's kind of designed to help out the local businesses there, the restaurants and the hotels, get some business going on. And we do polo on the beach there. And we do it largely as just a gesture to the business community to help them out to create another there, so that when people come, there's something to do.
Great.
check it out.
Dan, stay right here. I want to thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you very much.
We're going to be
Appreciate it.
back at the 4 o'clock hour. I've got Gary Sass, the money man, talking about everything that's going on in Washington, as well as up here. And then head of the Rhode Island Foundation, Neil Steinberg, will be on about a big inclusive process that they just went through and what some of the results are of what they were able to accomplish, what Rhode Islanders are thinking. For Josh Fenton, for GoLocal Live, from the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center, for Dan Keating and his really cool Jumbotron, I want to thank